I grew up in not even small cities, they were little towns. And I had a very simple childhood. We are four siblings, middle class family, but with great values that both my parents instilled in us. And I was the only one, the girl who was giving the engineering test. Students who've seen so much of uh, life and cities already, and I wasn't exposed that much. So that lack of exposure took its own journey, and there was a little bit of finding myself in the process. I was discussing this also with my nanny, that I want to do something like this. And she's a Marwari, very conservative family, old woman, and she told me, "शेरनी की तरह जीना है, शेरनी की तरह बोलना है." So I think that still echoes in my ears, right? So there is this 10 years of exploring breadth of experiences, building my toolkit. And especially after I had my kid, the challenge was a little bit more that, you're a mom and now you've left your job and now you're joining a startup and now you're going to... So a lot of societal questioning as well, just because I'm an ambitious mother of a young child.
Thank you for joining us on VTalk. This podcast isn't just about looking at current success, but it is about seeing the why, the how, what makes these leaders the interesting people that they are, what are the value systems behind it. So today we have Neha. Neha's grown up in different towns around Rajasthan, from a small town to an engineer in Bangalore to the University of Michigan, traversing a journey of IT, startup, big pharma. I don't know how much Neha has done in her life, but it's wonderful to now see where Neha has been, from a single mom to a successful CXO. We are very glad to have you here, Neha. Welcome, Neha. It's a pleasure to have you over here.
Thank you so much, Bindi, for having me. I'm very excited.
So why don't we start from where you are, a little bit about you, just so that we understand your journey from the very beginning.
Sure, Bindi. So I come from very small towns. My upbringing was in multiple small towns in Rajasthan. Then I went to Bangalore for my engineering. From there, I started my career in software engineering. Then went on to do an MBA from University of Michigan, and then came back to India and had a long 2-decade worth of career across India and the US, full of ups and downs, challenges, but also tasted a lot of success, along with my fair share of rejections and failures. And I've just wrapped up my 20-year corporate career earlier this year. And now I'm once again in middle of a transition, wanting to reinvent my professional journey and see what's next for me.
So just listen, oh my God, that's like a long journey. Like, if I think of it, where we start from the very start in Rajasthan, Neha, and where you landed up in Bangalore after. मतलब कैसा था, right? Like राजस्थान के छोटे शहरों में बड़े हुए. That transition to land up in an engineering college in Bangalore, how was it for you? How did you land up in engineering?
It was big. It was a very, very big transition, Bindi. I grew up in not even small cities, they were little towns. And I had a very simple childhood. We are four siblings, middle class family, but with great values that both my parents instilled in us. So my father was in a transferable job. So we kept changing cities every few years. And what that did for me is it put in that thing of change. Like, change is the only constant. And that's what kept happening throughout my childhood. And so every time, new school, new friends, new set of challenges, and then you have to face them. So I think that resilience seed was put in all of us, and me as well, right at that time. And then came 12th standard. I fell really sick just at the end of the 12th standard. And so I had to take a break from studies. And my eldest sister, she just went and submitted an engineering form for me while I was at my grandmother's place. And I did not even know it. I gave that engineering test and I cleared it. And I think that set the tone of my journey from there on. I was the only girl from Rajasthan who went to Bangalore to give PET, the engineering test for southern part of the country. Because my dad he was very progressive right from the beginning. And he said, in Rajasthan, you can only get that much exposure. Go out in the world and go see bigger cities of India. So he pushed me. And I remember we were around 55, 60 students who had gone from that city, Kota in Rajasthan, to Bangalore to give that test. And I was the only one, the girl who was giving the engineering test. And so that's how Bangalore happened, because my father had a vision that we need to be out of Rajasthan and go see the bigger world. But Bangalore was an eye-opening experience for me. There were students who had come from all over India and big cities of India. And even when I was okay at studies in Rajasthan, and I'm convent educated, so I went to really good school, English medium schools, but speaking English did not come easily to me. And so I think the first 2 years were extremely challenging for me. I was a bit bullied as well for not being able to converse in English. And I remember, writing down words every day, learning 5 new words, rehearsing them alone in my room and stuff like that. But it also taught me so much about who I am as a person, aside from not being able to speak English or learning. And that whole journey and that experience then put me into the IT world in Bangalore. So that's how the whole transition from a small city girl to Bangalore really happened. And that Bangalore stage put me on the world stage, really. So it was quite a bit of transition for me to go through the whole process.
So what did you do in these first 2-3 years to find yourself, right? Like, did you do jobs or did you do internships or kuch course kiye? Pata nahi. What did you do to figure out and get comfortable with, the Neha that I see today, right? Like, the Neha that I see today is very different. I mean, English is like fluent, everything is fluent. What did you do at that point of time to be comfortable with you?
So, Bindi, one thing about me since childhood was that I have been journaling. And I remember I was not any more than 6 or 7 years. I could hardly form sentences. But my dad gave me a diary and I started writing. And I've been journaling since then. So I think from that age till today, and that's what I did while in college as well, I used to journal. And what journaling helped me do was it started, after a point, it starts reflecting back to you. It starts speaking, and all the frameworks of my life or all of the next steps start coming from the journal itself. That's one thing. And second, I think we are coming from a small town. My father comes from a village, so does my mother. So I have those roots, and then we were in small cities. And so one core value that has been ingrained in all of us and me is to work hard. That's what most of our parents would say, right? Mehnat karo. But one thing, in addition to hard work, that my parents, especially my father and my nani, my grandmother, they instilled in me was courage. Hard work and courage. You mix the two values together, and that's what I think happened at the college as well. I used to go to those cafes, 5 rupees, 25 rupees, something like that, and just go and Google a topic, let's say. And I remember I was Googling around rock bands. I didn't know what rock bands were. And Bangalore crowd was very, pop culture. And so I used to Google those things, make notes, come back, and then I had something to talk about. That's how I slowly, steadily started making my way into the groups that were cool or that were nerdy. I also used to spend a lot of time in library. So absolute note-taking. I think that journaling habit brought me to note-taking.
अच्छा पढ़ाकू बच्चा जो पढ़ के सीख के लोगों से बात कर रहा था.
पढ़ के, and then some mornings I would just get up, okay, I'm going to introduce these 2-3 new concepts during the conversation. So it was a lot of artificial hard work, but hard work in the end of the day.
और फिर शुरुआत कैसे की, right? Like the IT job happened after college, but did you do internships in college? Where did you start like your journey of working from? Like the first, that first step is always the most difficult for most kids.
Yes.
What was your first step into working actually?
Yeah. I think my first step was a project that we had to do. it was an internship that we had to do right after college, in the fourth year.
That's
And
right.
I think that was my first experience of creating something. It was a software internship that I had done in a company. They did not pay me anything, but they said that we'll let you work out of our office. Amazing experience in terms of the skills that I learned there, apart from the IT skills, which I was just carrying from my education, but other skills like how do you deal with people, how do you become part of a team, how do you extract learnings, how do you still share a little bit about yourself in the team with all of these software engineers, because I was still young in fourth year of college. So that was my first experience, after which I took up my first job.
Or iske pehle you had never done anything else, or you had done something in college or during school? Like your resume was empty when you got this internship or this project?
No. In after 12th standard, between 12th standard and taking up the computer course, engineering course, I did. I've been very passionate about eye surgeries. My cousin sister, was very close to her. It's again a life experience. She lost her eyesight as we were growing up. That left such a big mark on me that, things can happen while everything is going well, and today she can see, tomorrow she cannot. And so I worked in that 1 year. I worked with Rotary Club. At that time, that used to happen. And I worked with Rotary Club, went and gave a presentation on how they should sponsor an eye camp that I want to conduct. And I remember the president of that Rotary Club, he invited me. He's like, okay, we have all of these funders today, and we have this family day as well. There'll be around 250 to 300 people there. Why don't you come and make a pitch? That was my first experience.
As a 12th grader?
As a 12th grader. Why don't you come and make a pitch? I made a pitch on how my vision is to do this eye camp. You know what? They sponsored the eye camp. I may still have the photographs back at my home. They did, and almost 35 people got cataract surgeries done. It was all Rotary Club. They are sponsoring. They are doing everything. But they made me make the pitch, and then they put the whole infrastructure together. Absolutely life-changing experience.
And how did you get this courage to do? I mean, I can't imagine 12th standard ke baad I couldn't string sentences together. How could you go and like do this? मतलब कैसे किया ये इतना courage कैसे किया कि stage पे जाके बात कर लिया इतने लोगों के बाद सामने?
Yeah, I think again directly coming from my father. But there's also one more thing. When you have limited resources in life, then you optimize whatever you have got. I was discussing this also with my nanny, that I want to do something like this. And she's a Marwari, very, conservative family, old woman. And she told me, sherni ki tarah जीना है, शेरनी की तरह बोलना है. So I think that still echoes in my ears, right? So she's not using the word courage, but she's using the word sherni. And I think that's what got translated into, this kind of a thing that I did.
And then Neha, I see your journey, right? IT say, I don't know, I'm like, I see a journey that so many different changes till you reach Michigan, right? Like, what prompted all these shifts and journeys and these jumps, and how was this thought process? I mean, badhte hue in your career, how did you go about all of these pieces then?
So Bindi, let's go back to my childhood a little bit. I'm the third girl child, and we are of the 4 siblings, right? So I've been a very quiet, not timid, but a quiet little girl, always gone with the flow, done what my parents was asking me to do, what my elder sisters were telling me to do. But there was always an independent voice that was going inside me throughout my life. And I think that voice got even more refined through journaling. So my internal voice in the journal are having a conversation. And I think that kind of kept telling me that this is what you need to do next, or this Cisco job, IT job, it's great, but it's not really for you because you're not talking to people, you are not listening to customers. And this was the internal compass that made me say, this is a lucrative job. I'm in Cisco, like one of the world's best tech companies, right? And you're doing brilliantly well. I had 2 role changes there as well. So I'm enjoying, I have a good friend circle. But the internal voice is saying that, you want to be out and about with the customers, talking to them, and not on the other side of the desk. That made me think, okay, so what next? And then I wanted to explore the world. My father sent me to Bangalore. That opened up the arena for me already. And from there came the thought that, this is my one chance of doing something. I've never been outside of India. Nobody in my family has ever gone outside of India. Neither on my mom's side, dad's side, nobody. Could I think of getting an MBA from abroad? Big dream, right? When I shared it with my father, he did not like it. In fact, he did not support me till the very end. It was my mother who said, okay, what is it about? And she took out the time to understand what I was saying and what I wanted to do. But to answer your question, Bindi, it was always an internal dialogue that told me, you're not, you want to go bigger than this. This is not for you. And I think that is bigger one and a different one. Bigger one, and that's how my 20 years really went by. Because if you see, look at my career, I did MBA and then I worked in the US for a year. And I came back from an MNC. I was like, I want to do something different. I go to public relations firm. From there, I take a break to bring up my daughter because that was what my calling was. I want to spend those precious moments with her. And then I was like, I want to try something else. I went and joined a startup. And after that, so there was this 10 years of exploring breadth of experiences, building my toolkit. Literally, I always think of it as I have a toolbox in which there are all of these skills and, competencies that I'm collecting. And that's what I did for the first 10 years of my career. And also the whole courage bit kicked in, Bindi, because every time I was making a transition, and my transitions were bold and non-traditional for someone who's getting an MBA from abroad, and people are writing me off. When I'm going from a MNC like J&J to a public relation firm, people are writing me off. When I'm taking a break to enjoy motherhood, people are writing me off. When I'm joining a startup, people are like, her career is done. And then I come back into the MNC world. So I think it was a little bit by design, but a lot of it driven just by curiosity and innate courage. And just trusting that, I can do breadth and depth together.
So, Neha, you were in Michigan, international, no experience. I think all of us land up in these countries and then realize whatever we've done in India is barely anything. I mean, you had WorkX. I barely had WorkX also when I went to Michigan. But how did you even think of finding a job? Or what was the first step you took to find that job or get experience in US so that you would be relevant enough to get more WorkX over there?
Yeah. I was studying general management. I was very interested in different kinds of parts of a business. And so I was looking at different kinds of internships that were there. And they were mostly specializing in marketing or finance or market access or what have you. And there was one role in a very big NGO in Detroit region of Michigan called Focus Hope. It's a NGO that works with underprivileged sections of the society in Detroit area. And the task at hand was to create a new center for working families from scratch. So you create a full-fledged program which makes people financially independent. These communities, especially the Black community in the US, how do you make them financially independent and literate? And that was it. That was the project description. And I think I took that up. They paid me not as much as other people were getting paid in internships. But Bindi, it was absolutely the highlight of my 20-year of career, I would say. You know why? Because to create something from scratch, it required every muscle that I had learned back in business school, right from marketing to financial analysis, because I was asking for money from the NGO to invest, to business planning, to the kind of programs and the curriculum, to how will we get these people, what is the sustainability of the program, and things like that. So I think it really pushed me towards exploring all aspects of putting a business together. What I'm trying to share is that it's not always that you'll make big money. in these kind of experiences, but the kind of skills you will get in return, no amount of money can get you that.
And how did that influence your career ahead, right? Or did that even influence the thought process or the way, kind of leader that you eventually became? So,
Yeah, a couple of things. One is the kind of mentorship that I received. I was coming from, no work experience in NGOs, no work experience in the US, but some of the leaders at Focus Hope, how nicely and how wholeheartedly they accepted me and said, okay, she doesn't know anything, but she's willing to learn. And so they taught me. I think that's one thing that really helped me throughout my career, as and when I became people leader, managed big teams, and stuff like that. And second was, you really don't have to know everything about every function. You learn on the job. So for someone like me, I don't think I've learned more than 15-20% in the classroom at all in limited resources. It stretched me and asked me to look up all of my theoretical knowledge and apply it here. So I think that's what I gained from this whole experience.
And did it change you as a person or a leader, right?
Yeah.
Like, because you were seeing a world which you had never seen, right? Even though you come from small towns, I would still say
NGO world is
privileged
very
in a
different,
sense.
yeah.
No, and you were seeing, I mean, I think I've seen Detroit, the back alleys of Detroit are not pretty. So what did it do to you as an individual somewhere?
Yeah. It did two things. One, a lot of compassion towards, and that's why eventually I found my place in healthcare industry. I feel that the world essentially has a lot of suffering, and it could come in different forms. Sometimes in form of financial problems, sometimes in terms of diseases. So how do you create solutions and services and processes that elevate some of this struggle and suffering from the world? That was one. So it put that seed in me of service.
You make it sound very easy, Neha. Sachi mein, when you tell me, and I've known you now, more than a decade now. It's not been easy, right? Like and I'm sure even before I met you, there must have been a struggle. What were like the challenges for you? Through college, reaching Michigan, post Michigan also, but even before that, what are the challenges sort of for you?
I think there were two layers of the challenges that I've constantly felt, and even now some bit of it keeps coming in now that I'm again wanting to make a transition. But of course, I'm much better prepared now. One was the internal, when the external noise gets too much, especially from your well-wishers, your parents, your family, because they want best for you and they want safety. They want you to follow a certain path which is stable so that you don't have to go through the struggles of life. But what that does is the intention is safety, but the way it comes out is, have you lost your mind? What are you doing? And your elder siblings and their spouses, when they're saying, no, this is too dangerous, don't. So one part is that now I can say it's noise, but at that time it was very relevant. It was heavy weight when someone you look up to is saying that, this is not the right path. Why are you leaving your job in J&J? And why what on earth is making you take a career break? And that trickles down as self-doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? Is it too dangerous? What will happen to my career? So these two layers, I think, the question that I was constantly asking myself was, do I take this as noise, which can distract me, or do I take this as data and then, analyze it basis what I feel is right? So the challenge was truly, and especially after I had my kid, the challenge was a little bit more that, you're a mom and now you've left your job and now you're joining a startup and now you're going to. So a lot of societal questioning as well, just because I'm an ambitious mother of a young child. I left my kid in daycare when she was 3 months old. And I got a lot of projection from the society on what kind of a mom am I? So it doesn't matter if I went to University of Michigan or I'm living in Gurgaon or I can speak English or I'm wearing high heels. It doesn't matter. The the questions on me are pretty much the questions any mother is facing who's very ambitious and who's leaving her kid in daycare. So I think those were the challenges I constantly faced throughout my career.
And if I look at the journey, were there people, I mean, your dad seems like a big influence in your life, but were there others out there who were influences to keep you going, right? Like people always have mentors or leaders or other people. What were there people out there who said, "Nee, Neha, this is okay. Let the noise be. Keep going. Keep going ahead in your career." Did you have people in your life who pushed you to do more?
Yes, there were people. I think in two of the most difficult times, it was my mother who actually rose to the occasion and said, when I was making big life transitions, it was her, and she's not very well exposed in the world or very well educated or anything. But she's like, you've got one life, go for it. So my mother was one. Second, yes, of course, I had mentors along the way. But it was also driven. So let's say I wanted to, I joined the startup. The way I joined it was I was sitting with Ira, my little kid, and I'm preparing a competitive analysis of the food tech industry in 2015. So no one had asked me to do that. I am preparing that deck, and I sent it to one of the angel investors in the country. And I said, you know what? I've prepared this. That's how I found mentor. So he looked at it. He was in US then. He's like, I'm coming back next week. Why don't you come and meet me? And then he said that, if you can do something like this, then you have the courage of trying out new things. So I found people along the way. But I think for my journey, the initiative a lot of times was from me.
Now tell me this, Neha. Like I know till Michigan was interesting, and I mean I think people, but in the last 10 years, I feel your career sort of what they call a hockey stick, right? You literally just reached up there. And how has that been for you, right? Like to go from all like what CXO level positions for you in the last, at least since I've known you for the last 5-6 years, you've literally gone. I mean, and how does a child even think about that, right? How do you aspire to reach there? How do you think of getting there? What has it been for you? So
Bindi, the ingredients have remained the same. So there's no secret sauce to this. I think I'll tell you my journey again. It was, I was working in that startup when Roche, it's one of the world's biggest oncology MNCs. They found me. I'm sure somebody recommended my name that, she will take a initiative and she'll build, because, she'll build something new. So they were putting together a new function. They wanted someone who was a bit crazy and who would like take risk and build something new, which isn't there. And that has literally been the theme for my career, where there exists nothing, where there's no category. How do you, you need someone who would create that. But even there, I joined that team as a marketing manager. But very quickly, I figured out that this isn't enough. You need a different kind of structure, let's say key account management kind of a structure. And again, the same initiative. Nobody's asking me to do that. I put together a whole business plan on why Roche, as an MNC in India, requires key account management.
So you sort of just told them, "Ye tumhari strategy hai.
I'm
going to make the strategy for you." Nobody asked you.
Nobody
nothing.
asked me. I'm doing my job, and there's this little thought in my mind that this doesn't work properly this way, because there are other decision makers in a hospital, and just working with the doctors isn't helping us solve the problem. There are other administrators who are sitting. So just that one insight propelled me to put something, kacha pakka together. I'm not saying put a full business plan together. You need different kinds of skills at different stages of your career. I put something together and I pitched it to the management. Again, the same thing. Initiative, courage, risk-taking. And the general manager took notice. Within 3 months, they got a project management person from Basel, Switzerland, because I am not a project manager, right? I can have this insight.
Yeah.
But you need a specific skill set. And then he came down to India, and the two of us for the next 6 months put this whole thing together. It was approved at the regional level and implemented. And then the question came, okay, who's going to implement it now? We want to implement. It's me. Change my designation from marketing manager to key accounts leader. Again, right? I'm giving them the problem, I'm giving them the solution, and I'm telling them what to do. They changed my designation to key accounts leader. That's what I did for the next one year. And then the same thing. And then Roche restructured completely. So, 40-50% of the workforce had to be restructured. And I was also going through a very big transition in my personal life. I had recently become a single parent, and I don't have a job. and I need a job the next morning, right? Tapped into my network, there's a contract role, okay, contingent labor, as they called it, strategy and business planning. And my network and society and family is writing me off. Oh, University of Michigan grad from Roche is going to a consultant role, not a consultant, a contingent contractor role. I said, I don't care. I need that paycheck. I'm here with a little 3-year-old, And I took that 10 months. I channelized all of my frustration around what I was hearing from everywhere into that job, Bindi. And the 10th month, I was invited to interview for the country leadership role. And that's how I became the strategy and business operations head for Takeda, and did what I did for the next 5 years, winning awards, creating that function from scratch. And then, of course, I was promoted to the business unit head as well. But to cut it short, the same ingredients: take initiative, look for insights. What is missing here? And you don't have to have all the skills, but if you could figure out, here is a problem that's existing, and I need some resources to figure out what the solution is. 9 out of 10 times, you will get noticed, and people will listen to what you have to say. And if they're not listening, and if you're convinced that you have a problem at hand, phrase it in a different way. Bring it to some other stakeholders. I think that has been the absolute theme for me.
If I look at it, Neha, like, you're super ambitious, right? Like, you are very ambitious. And I've seen you since I've known you. You just pushed, right? Has it been, like, as a woman leader, and I know I bring the gender piece, but has it been difficult, right? Because you were such a senior person. And people tend to write us off, right? Especially when we're outspoken, we're ambitious. What has it been for you, right? Like, how have you fought with that bit? And I know young girls always look at us and say, "Kaise karte ho? Aap kaise bol lete ho?" What sort of kept you going that?
So, Bindi, the unfortunate part about this part of our discussion is that this experience for women leaders is almost the same across the world. Not only India, not only in MNCs, not in smaller cities. It is consistent across that we feel the pain of being a woman leader in anywhere that we're working, in corporates and startups. And it wasn't any different for me. It was, I'd be lying if I said it was a cakewalk. It has been tough. And there were moments where just the gender part of it was just made things difficult for me. It weighed upon me. And just being a woman, there was a little penalty to it. Contrast that with woman in pharma commercial. There are far and few in between, right? And so the challenges were plenty. And put that against a single mother who's this ambitious. So I think the odds were absolutely stacked up against me, and there was no running away from it. People had judgments about me, not behind my back, in front of me, on my face. And yes, there have been nights, there have been moments in the washroom when I've broken down and I've cried because I'm not able to take the judgment and the pressure, which is absolutely on my face. And Indian society, I'm not saying it's more or less than any other society in the world, but it can get loud. And so I've gone through that. But what has given me courage, Bindi, is two things. One, you've already said, no one is coming.
Yeah.
Nobody is coming, right? And second, a 5-year-old is waiting for me back at home, looking up to me. What does my mom do now? How does she handle it? So I think my daughter has been absolutely my biggest inspiration. How do I handle myself and how do I lead through these tough situations? And they get tough. It is lonely, as in when you're climbing the corporate ladder. And no one would know this better than you, Bindi. You're yourself a founder, right? On how odds can quickly stack up against you. But in those subtle moments, you regroup yourself, you think of why you're doing what you're doing and where is it that you're wanting to go, and the narrative that you want to write about your own life, because no one is going to write it for you.
And what's ahead in life for you, right? If I was to ask what's next, I mean, when I look at you, I feel like you've achieved the world, right? Like, but I'm sure there's so much more that you can do. What's next for you in that sense?
So exciting times, Bindi. I'm in thick of a transition right now. I have wrapped up my 20-year corporate career and I'm looking ahead for the next 20. And I used this year to really learn a lot about some new areas like neuroscience and, how physiologically we as leaders respond to pressure. And now I'm in the stages of building a leadership practice, which is specifically for senior leaders, founders, to understand how they perform under pressure. So they may be performing extremely well outwardly, but internally they may be beyond their capacity. And so how do we support them in terms of creating, the core of it is diagnostic tools. Leadership paradigm, Bindi, is that we're saying, we're not accurately saying what pressure biologically does to a person. So your capacity gets reduced in those moments. And so putting the blame back on the leader, no, you are not leading well, is inappropriate. The leader cannot lead well if physiologically you are not ready to lead well. I think that's the specific problem I'm trying to solve with senior leaders who are facing burnout, pressures increasing, the competitive environment is becoming intense. How do you stabilize your behavior, regulate your emotions, and stay regulated under pressure? Because that will have a ripple effect on not only your performance, your internal consistency, your team, your organizational culture, and eventually your top line and bottom line.
That's impressive. I mean, to wrap my head on how you're going to do this, it's very interesting because I love the idea of the concept. You are starting a startup and your child is a serial entrepreneur, actually, if I think about it. She built so many. I mean, she pushes you, I think, in a very different way, right?
She does.
Like if I look at you.
Yeah.
I mean, she's pushing that envelope to say, Mama, do more. I mean, very few children that I've seen that push the envelope in a very different way. So
definitely.
And she's an innovator in her own capacity, if I look at her. So
yeah, and she's been very clear. She's like, I need more of my mom in my life. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to go. So you don't have enough time for me. So I think you should do something of your own. So yeah, she's been quite an inspiration, very vocal about it. That she's fully supportive of my entrepreneurial journey from here onwards. Though in between, when I'm not giving her that much pocket money, she says, maybe you should take up a little job as well, Mom. So that happened last night as well.
Right. But I think otherwise she's, I mean, it's brilliant what a child you've raised, right? So, and the fact that she keeps pushing you is pretty awesome. So,
and then she has mentors like you as well, Bindi. So it's like VAll community that you are creating and curating and inspiring and building. I think it's trickling down to this Gen Alpha as well. So every time you've had those conversations with her, or when she's seen your app, or she's wanting to do a quest in your app, I think that's how the brain is completely getting, repatterned for this generation as well. That really, even sky is not the limit. We can really bring about change. And that's what Ira experiences with you every time she talks to you.
And they are very passionate. I think this is a generation that is way more passionate about causes. They do care. I mean, unlike us who wanted to just make money somewhere, I think they believe, they care in a very, very different way.
And they believe that change is possible.
Yeah. Neha, if I look at where you're going or even where you've reached right now, and if I look at the Neha who went to Bangalore, how do you look at it? Did you even dream of this journey ki itna sara hoga? Matlab, I don't know. I mean, I never thought I would reach here, right? Like, so do you think, like, when you reflect back and say, ye hota kya? Like, what is the thought? What would you tell that Neha today if you were to look back and say something to her, to say that ho jayega, koi baat nahi, right?
So you are essentially asking me two questions, Bindi.
Yeah.
One is that did that little Neha believe that this was possible? And the second is, what would I say to her?
Yeah.
So the first question is, did she believe that I'll reach here? both yes and no. Uh, yes, because I had that internal courage and my internal little world, quiet internal world where I was like, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to tell anyone because no one will listen to me. And no, because again, going with the flow, timid, quiet, average, absolutely in studies. But the turning point in my life, and also yes, I would believe this. I will also tell you the turning point that happened in my life was I was in fourth standard and very below average kid till then. Fourth standard final results come out. I'm coming out of the big main gate of my school with the report card in my dad's hand, and he's holding my hand. And I look up to him and I see absolute disappointment on my father's face. And I'm sure it wasn't about my result. He would be thinking something about his job or whatever. The way that 7, 8 year old kid internalized it was, I'm going to be a topper from next exams onwards. We used to get a beautiful red badge, right? I'm going to be a topper. So that internal resolve at that moment, and I never, not once, and I always had that topper badge from there onwards. So I think, yes, I would believe that would happen because of that little girl who's making that promise to herself, to her internal world, that I'm going to do this from here onwards. And what I would tell the little Neha is, don't betray yourself to belong, right? I think I would say stay with yourself. Don't abandon yourself in the process. Stay with yourself, and it will keep happening. Something like that, yeah.
Because the journey is not easy. So
the journey is not easy, and you will feel like leaving and going back to safety, leaving and shrinking yourself, doing something that is safer, doable, smaller. Yeah, and that feeling will keep coming again and again. So don't talk to that feeling.
On that note, Neha, let's do a nice quick rapid fire.
Sure, Bindi.
So just one question which we've asked all, I think you've hinted already, but one misconception about working for free, right, in a job. What do you think is a misconception out there?
That if it's free, then you're not gaining much out of it. No, if you're gaining growth out of it, if you are learning skills that you can otherwise not learn, if you are networking with people, if you're able to build a network with people, it is not a free job. You are gaining a lot. It's just that it's not in money, but in some other lifelong skills.
And if you had time from everything that you do, what is the one cause that you would pick to give, like, say, a month of your time or 2 months of your time, or throughout, on the side? So what's the cause you really care about?
I would say emotional safety and mental health for single parents.
Well, that's a nice one. I think and it's a difficult one, so I can...
Because they suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And they go through it all alone. So if there could be a space where we could come together and support and talk about it and, name the pattern, that this is how it happens, I think that will bring so much of, that will remove so much of shame around this whole thing.
That's beautiful. We should do something about it.
Would love to.
And then I think the last question is one message you would give to all our young adults on VAll. What would you tell them?
Number one thing is don't rush success. Success is not an end point that you will have someday. It's absolutely a journey. Which is the core ingredients of that is stay curious and take risks. Please take risks. It's failure and rejection. Inevitable. There's no running away from it. So you will face failure, you will face rejection. So take risks and stay curious. Be very inquisitive. How does that work? Wear your investigative hats and say, I don't have that skill. I wonder how that works. I wonder how finance works. I wonder how sales works. I wonder how supply chain works. Get your hands dirty in anything and everything that you can get, because really you will be amazed at how your toolkit will start coming together in few years if you just become a bit risk-taking and say, I need to take that course, but do that internship for free in that cafe, looking at their procurement. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
It could come from anywhere. You really don't have to, go, oh, I need to have a paid offer from an MNC. No, it could happen from anywhere, small, big. And keep taking those risks, and create that big toolkit of varied skill sets. Eventually you will figure out, I'm really passionate about strategy, let me go deep into that. Now I go take that course, now I apply for that job, now I find this mentor who can really tell me the tricks of the trade. So I think being curious, have a strong learning agility, and take risks. I think I would say that.
I think that's very good advice for most young people. I think that's good advice for me also. So it's nice. Yeah.
You have extremely high learning agility and risk taking, Bindi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
super
much,
wonderful
Bindi.
conversation.
It was a lovely conversation.
Really nice. Appreciate you coming for this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. We had a wonderful conversation with Neha. I think looking at, what she taught us in terms of continuing to be curious, continuing to learn, keep working, and keep growing in your careers as you go. I think I have so much to learn from her, but all of you keep coming back, listening to these conversations. We're going to have some wonderful leaders, and check out on VAll. We'll have some beautiful masterclasses and mentorship sessions from these leaders. So follow us, like, share, subscribe, VAll, and listen to VTalk, because we'll be back again soon. Thank you.